Hey guys, it's Brandon, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I post true crime content like this every single week, so if that's something you're interested in, click subscribe down there and let's go on to this case. So today we're going to be talking about the case of the Candyman killer, or the man who killed Halloween. So obviously, the best part of Halloween is going trick-or-treating, getting lots of sweets and candy. Lots of parents nowadays check their kids' candy before letting them eat it, and that's probably partially because of this case. In the 1970s, when this case took place, it was a lot safer. No one even thought that it was possible for people to be tampering with children's Halloween candy, so they didn't check it. So today we are in Houston, Texas, specifically Deer Park, in 1974. Ronald Clark O'Bryan, who lived in Deer Park with his wife Danae and their two kids, Timothy, who was born in 1966, and Elizabeth, who was born in 1969. Ronald was an optician in a well-known optical chain in Texas. He was heavily involved in the Baptist church, which he attended, and he was a choir singer at the church. October 31st, 1974, Halloween, Ronald and his two kids, Timothy and Elizabeth, and a family from church named Jim and his two kids, Kimberly and Mark, and a few neighbours were all trick-or-treating together. Jim actually lived in another neighbourhood, so Ronald took his kids to Jim's neighbourhood because apparently it was nicer and he thought that trick-or-treating would be better over there. They were having a normal Halloween night trick-or-treating when they came to a house that had no lights on, which to you and me signifies like, don't come here, we ain't giving candy out. But they tried anyway. They knocked and nobody answered, and the kids decided to move on to the next house. But Ronald decided to stay back at the house and wait for someone to answer. Later he caught up to Jim and the kids and told them he waited back at this house until someone answered. And finally, when they did, they gave him 6 pixie sticks. So Ronald gave 5 pixie sticks to the kids and then to another 10-year-old boy who he recognised from church. They continued to trick-or-treat for a little longer and then decided to go home. So what's the first thing kids are going to do once they get home from trick-or-treating? They're going to dump out their candy and then start eating it. Timothy decided that he wanted to eat his pixie stick first. Ronald said that Timothy struggled to open it because it was stapled shut, it's stapled shut. Ronald opened it for Timothy and he ate it. When Timothy ate it, he said it tasted bitter and overall just weird. Ronald gave him some Kool-Aid to wash it down and to get rid of the taste. Minutes later, Timothy started complaining of a stomachache, and then he ran to the bathroom and started vomiting and convulsing. Ronald called 911 and Timothy was rushed to the hospital, but he died before he arrived. He had died less than an hour after he had eaten the pixie stick. The news of Timothy's death spread around like wildfire. They all believed that house was giving out poisoned candies. Parents were panicking and throwing out all their kids' candy to protect their children. People were also taking their candy to the police station to be tested and to be destroyed. An autopsy was performed on Timothy, and it was found that the pixie stick he had eaten had been laced with cyanide. An alert was spread telling everyone to throw out any pixie sticks which they may have. Ronald told the police that there were a further 5 pixie sticks which he had given to other children. These 5 pixie sticks were able to be tracked down and none of the kids had eaten them yet. However, there was one final stick which was not able to be tracked down because Ronald couldn't remember which kid he had given it to. The police finally managed to find this kid, contact their parents and look for the pixie stick. They began to look for the stick but couldn't find it. and their son had already gone to sleep, so they ran to his room fearing that he had eaten the pixie stick. However, due to the pixie stick being stapled shut, the kid had been unable to open it and had given up and was just asleep with the pixie stick in his hand. They dumped out all of these pixie sticks and realised that all of these had been emptied and replaced with pure cyanide, and there was enough in it to kill up to 4 grown adults. On November 2nd, Timothy was buried at Forest Park, Lawndale Cemetery, and at his funeral, Ronald sang and said that his son was in a better place with God. Police were now wanting to find out which house was giving out the poison candy when they asked Ronald, and he said he couldn't remember. They had only been to a small number of houses that night, so police decided to check them all to try and find out the house giving out the pixie sticks. Now, none of the neighbours were giving out pixie sticks, so police took Ronald on a walk around the neighbourhood, hoping that he would be able to remember the house. Ronald had now remembered which house it was, and he claims that the house was dark and that he kept knocking, and when they finally did answer, it was still dark in the house, and they only opened the door a crack to hand him the candy. He also claims that he couldn't see the man, so couldn't give the police a description. Police go and visit this house, which belonged to a man named Courtney Melvin. Courtney Melvin told the police that he was working that night at the airport, and it was confirmed that he was working till 11 p.m. that night, so he couldn't have been giving out candy because he wasn't home. Police are now becoming suspicious of Ronald. They found that he was in over $100,000 worth of debt. He was also being accused of stealing from his job as an optician, and he had also had 21 jobs in the last 10 years. He also had many other financial issues going on. His car was about to be seized, he had defaulted on several bank loans, and his home was soon to be foreclosed on. It was also found that he had taken out large life insurance policies on his children not too long before Timothy's death. January of 1974, he had taken out 2 $10,000 policies. Then in the month before the murder, he had taken out another $20,000 per child. And only a few days before the murder, he had taken out another $20,000 per kid. So this meant that each child had a life insurance policy of $50,000. So police were a bit shocked because young children generally do not have life insurance policies, and definitely not $50,000 ones. The insurance company contacted the police, informing them that on November 1st, the day after the murder, that Ronald had called them asking how he could get the money. Ronald's wife Danae wasn't even aware that Ronald had taken out life insurance policies on the kids. A local chemical supply store also contacted the police, saying that Ronald had come in a few days prior to the Halloween trying to buy a large amount of cyanide. Chemical supply stores would only give you a small amount of cyanide unless you had a license, because it's that dangerous. On November 5th, Ronald Clark O'Brien was arrested. He was indicted on 1 charge of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. He pled not guilty to all of his charges. His trial started on May 5th, 1975, and a chemist witness who was friends with Ronald claimed that Ronald in summer of 1973 had been asking him lots of questions about cyanide. Friends and colleagues of Ronald said that he had a cyanide obsession. Ronald's sister and Ronald's brother-in-law say that at Timothy's funeral, Ronald had been going around telling people what he was going to spend the insurance money on. He said he was going to go on holiday to deal with the trauma of losing his son. Ronald was still proclaiming his innocence and sticking to his theory that House was giving out poisoned pixie sticks. On June 3rd, 1975, the jury found him guilty of 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. They only deliberated for 46 minutes, which is very fast. They also spent only 71 minutes deciding his sentence, and they decided to sentence him to death. His wife later on divorced him, and he was held at the Huntsville unit in Huntsville, Texas. Prison workers say that all the death row inmates hated Ronald for the murder of his son. He was supposed to be executed on August 8th, 1980, but then it was postponed to May 25th, 1982, but then it was later postponed to October 31st, Halloween of 1982, which is pretty fitting seeing the time of year it is, and seeing the murder was on Halloween. The judge was so adamant that Ronald was to be executed that he even said he would drive him to be executed. The Supreme Court once again postponed the execution so that Ronald had a chance to appeal and to get a new trial. The execution date was then changed to March 31st, 1984. Ronald's attorney fought so much for him, saying that death by lethal injection was a cruel and unusual punishment. But Ronald Clark O'Bryan was executed on March 31st, 1984, at the age of 39. In his last moments, he said that the death penalty was wrong. He maintained his innocence, and his last words were, "I forgive all, and I do mean all that were involved in my death. God bless you, and may God's best blessings always be yours." While Ronald was being executed, a crowd of 300 people show up. People were throwing sweets, and someone even shouted "trick or treat." Ronald was buried at the Forest Park East Cemetery in Webster, Texas. His wife, Danae, remarried, and her daughter, Elizabeth, was adopted by her mother's husband, and they lived on their lives. So the moral of this story is check your Halloween candy before you eat it. So, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, press over here. And if you want to watch more videos, I'll put a playlist on screen over here. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.